Trump actually took Musk's side on it, coming out in support of H-1B visas in comments to the New York Post. Quote, "I have many H-1B visas on my properties. I've been a believer in H-1B. I've used it many times. It's a great program." Now, I have to say, I think Trump might be confused here. I don't think his properties are hiring a ton of, say, like software engineers off H-1B. As the New York Times reports, Trump has been a frequent and longtime user of the similarly named but starkly different H-2B visa program, which is for unskilled workers like gardeners and housekeepers.
I'm sure Elon Musk thought he would be ending this year with more Maga friends than foes, but that doesn't look like the case. And it looks like there will be even more turmoil in 2025 for Republicans Elon Musk and all of those surrounding Trump. And the latest example comes with one of Donald Trump's top advisors, closest friends, and biggest advocates, and one of the most important players in the Maga movement in Steve Bannon, going after Elon Musk and triggering him into a meltdown. Maga is at war, and it's only going to get worse, and that just makes me so happy, and we are going to be covering it all. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really means the world to me now. Before we get into Bannon's attack on Musk and his reaction, I want to check out an update on all of the Elon drama and the Maga civil war from our good friend Chris. I also want to wish you a happy new year. Now let's get into it.
We still have 3 weeks until Donald Trump is sworn into his second term. There's no denying that with some genuine political candidness, Trump has cobbled together an unwieldy and in many respects somewhat unlikely political coalition. And that coalition delivered him the first outright popular vote victory for a Republican since George W. Bush in 2004. It's only the second time it has happened since the end of the Cold War. Now Trump has to actually govern. And that is typically when all the internal contradictions in any political coalition rise to the surface. We're not even to inauguration yet, and that factional fighting, I would argue, is bigger and more glaring than almost any other I've ever witnessed in American politics. You're seeing that right now in the battle over immigration, which has been exploding among the MAGA right. Basically, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, the tech overlords who appear to be running Trump's second-term agenda, rely on highly skilled immigrants to power their enterprises. Those immigrants come to this country to work with an H-1B visa, which provides terms that are extremely favorable to their employers and also an amazing opportunity for the folks coming to work here. Folks basically have to stay at their job in order to stay in the country. If they leave their position, they have 2 months to find a new job or risk getting deported. So you can see why someone like Elon Musk likes them so much. For example, this is not abstract. When Musk bought Twitter and a huge percentage of the staff headed for the exits, Vice News reported on how Twitter employees on visas can't just quit. And the other side of the debate over the H-1B visa is the one that folks like Stephen Miller and Stephen Bannon have been pushing for years, that we should restrict, limit, perhaps end all immigration in the U.S., legal and illegal, right? Stuff at the border around asylum, but also H-1B visas. I mean, just listen to the two of them on Bannon's old radio show back in March of 2016. This is before Trump was even the Republican nominee. Take a listen.
And they see these oligarchs down there with 54 private jets. And they're not down there for their health. They're called together by Karl Rove, and it's a Stop Trump movement. And it's a Stop Trump movement because they want unlimited HB1 visas. Isn't the beating heart of this problem right now, the real beating heart of it, of what we got to get sorted here, is not illegal immigration, as horrific as that is, and it's horrific. And don't we have a problem? We've looked the other way on this legal immigration that's kind of overwhelmed the country.
The history of America is that an immigration on period is followed by an immigration off period.
So be very clear there, right? H-1B visas, legal immigration, and immigration off period. Like, they have a pretty clear vision. Miller's going to be the one writing that border bill. So those two factions of the Republican Party with pretty profoundly different views are at each other's throats about what to do with their newfound power. Should they use the legal immigration system to continue supplying Silicon Valley and other industries with highly skilled workers? Or should they apply some new racist immigrant exclusion act, like the Chinese Exclusion Act, to deport all those workers and let Americans take their jobs? In defense of the former argument, that is continuing H-1B visas, Elon Musk spent his Christmas week absolutely melting down the social media platform he owns. He has since deleted many of those posts, including one that replied approvingly to a post calling American-born workers in general a slur, the R word, for being too stupid to be able to do the jobs that workers on H-1B visas were doing. One emblematic post is still up where Musk tells opponents of H-1B visas to F themselves before pledging to go to war on this issue, the likes of which you cannot possibly comprehend. Although he seems to have underestimated how much the MAGA diehards hate immigration, his online base of right-wing Twitter trolls quickly turned on him, spurned on by the likes of Bannon, as well as Laura Loomer, the fringe far-right activist who spent much of the fall cozying up to Trump before his campaign stepped in and pushed her aside.
This is not a civil war because they're not tough enough. They're just not.
I don't think that it's acceptable for George Soros, Elon Musk, or Peter Thiel. It doesn't matter what side of the political aisle a billionaire is on. I don't think that it's acceptable for billionaires to have this much power and this much access.
On the policy dispute here, and there is a real one, Trump actually took Musk's side on it, coming out in support of H-1B visas in comments to the New York Post. Quote, "I have many H-1B visas on my properties. I've been a believer in H-1B. I've used it many times. It's a great program." Now, I have to say, I think Trump might be confused here. I don't think his properties are hiring a ton of, say, like software engineers off H-1B. As the New York Times reports, Trump has been a frequent and longtime user of the similarly named but starkly different H-2B visa program, which is for unskilled workers like gardeners and housekeepers. Of course, you could drive yourself crazy to try to track Trump's position on anything at any given moment. In 2016, of course, he called for, guess what? The H-1B to be banned.
So it's pretty clear that things aren't going super well for Elon Musk and his friends in Maga. And I love that. The first instance in which the Republican Party wasn't just about obstructing Democrats or attacking President Biden and Vice President Harris. They completely eat their own. They go after each other. As we've talked about so much, there are so many radical elements of the MAGA movement, it's all radic at this point. And all they've known how to do is obstruct. Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't go to Congress. CU. She was focused on paving roads in Georgia or protecting Social Security or making sure we fight back against climate change. She just went to cause a scene and get attention. So it's all these people know how to do. And now that Elon Musk is trying to have a conversation about immigration, which he has already been railing about throughout the whole campaign. So there goes his hypocrisy. Everything falls apart. And that's going to be more of this Trump administration, people eating their own, attacking each other. You have so many different weird and new factions of the MAGA movement that they're just not going to be able to keep each other in check. And Trump really doesn't care. There's no leadership structure. Sure, J.N. Thone is the Senate Majority Leader, and Mike Johnson will probably, but maybe not be elected Speaker. But what's the power dynamic that any of those people hold to keep their own caucuses in check? They don't. It's Trump down, and Trump doesn't really seem to care. So they keep fighting each other, like Steve Bannon did going after Elon Musk in this clip right here.
If you can work out the mathematical formulas and the engineering complexity of sending a colony of human beings to Mars and keep them alive, you can work through the math on this, and you know it's a bald-faced lie. And here's how I know you know it's a bald-faced lie, because you cratered as soon as we got up in your grill. Oh, okay, fine. Well, I won't fight to the death. I'm not going to fight to the death and show all kind of new types of warfare. Why don't we reform? We need reform. And you're going to some BS answer, and you think we're going to buy that? Where did you come from, dude? Here's what you need to do. You need to study modern political history of the fights we've been through for 12 or 14 years to get to this spot. You think this just because people are just wandering around? People have worked for over a decade pounding this. And that's how relentless the established order is. Because Baccia told you, they're making a lot of money and they have control, and this is about money and power. It's not about race. It's not about gender. It's not about ethnicity. It's not about religion. That's what they want you to believe it is. So you're like a bucket of crabs at each other's throat. It's not about that. It's about money and power. And Karl Rove's going to get his 54 big donors down there. They're going to figure out how to stop Trump or how to compromise it. And they'll use Ted Cruz, or they'll use Little Marco, or they'll use Jeb Bush, or they don't care who they use. They'll throw up some chop block. They'll misdirect you. Oh, look at this. In that, there's some racism over there. You white folks, go look at that. That's a Fox specialty. We don't fall for that. So don't think you're going to come back and, oh, you know what? Well, what we need to do is increase it here and cut that cost there. Screw you, you clown.
So clearly, Steve is more than happy to rail against Elon Musk and go after that whole new Doge faction of the Maga movement. I don't even know if they're a part of it. They're kind of doing their own separate thing. Maybe they just latched onto it as a means to an end. And if that's the case for Elon, then we're certainly going to see a lot bigger of a MAGA civil war. Because if he's willing to fund candidates who maybe go against the exact ideology of MAGA and Donald Trump, but call themselves Republicans, we are going to see a big shakeup of how it plays out for them. And although Steve Bannon is a despicable human being, he is relatively ideologically consistent. And so although he will sometimes and usually bend the knee to Donald Trump. Trump doesn't want to be involved with this. He doesn't want the hassle. He doesn't want the headache. And so he's not going to stop any of this a civil war from breaking out. And all these tiny little weird corners that just show everyone how strange they are. And so Steve Bannon is going to keep railing against Elon Musk VC is going to go after one wing of MAGA and Elon another. And they'll just eat their own. And we should talk about why they're doing it. Because Elon is focused on his pocketbook in the same way. And because Steve Bannon and Donald Trump only want to promote nationalism at all cost, and not in a way that benefits you, but also in a way that benefits themselves. They want to keep you divided. They want us not focused on the issues that actually matter. So as this MAGA civil war is breaking out, we have to talk about what the rote CA of it are, and talk about why Democrats are actually ideologically consistent and focused on making real meaningful change, not just bickering and getting on Fox News or Newsmax. And that's what we're going to continue to do on this show every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around at the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments, and you can wish yourself a happy new year and everyone else in the comments as well. And until next time, I'll see you soon.